Alright, welcome to the next lesson of our tutorial series on how to use the Photon chat plugin. For this lesson, we're going to be going over the concepts behind sending a private message to a specific person. To get started, I've built my project and I'm going to click play in the editor. And we've already done this part, so I'm just going to type in a username and click join chat. I'll then go to the standalone and do the same. And we've already talked about sending and receiving public messages, but now we want to talk about sending and receiving private messages. And to confirm this, I'm going to run another standalone. Now the first thing that you need to get the private messages working is an input field for typing the player's username that you want to send a message to. And we need to have another public function with a string parameter that we compare to this input field. And all that function needs to do is save the value that's typed into this input field into a new variable. That way we can then use that variable at a later time. And so if I type in bitops to this standalone, I've now saved this string value into a variable of my Photon chat manager script. And I need to have it spelled exactly the same as I typed it in for the username of this standalone. Now we don't need to do anything additional for our chat input field, but we do need to create another public function for our send button. So once again, you'll remember from our previous video that we have two public functions paired to the onClick event of our send button. One is for sending a public message and the other is for sending a private message. Now these functions are very similar, and just like our function for sending public messages, our private message function has an if statement, but instead of checking to see if the variable that we're using for the recipient of our private message is equal to an empty string, we want to make sure that it's not equal to an empty string. This way, if we have anything typed into this input field, we will no longer send a public message, but instead a private message. And so inside that if statement, you'll then need to call a special function for sending a private message instead of a public message. And that function is called sendPrivateMessage, which belongs to the chat client class. This function then requires two parameters. Instead of the name of the chat channel, we need the username for the player that we want to send the message to. And that'll be the same variable that we're updating with this user or recipient input field. The second parameter is the chat message that we want to send. And that's the same variable that's being updated with our chat input field. And once you call that function, you'll then want to clear both the chat input field and our current chat variable. Now that's what you need to send a private message. And so I could type hello bitops and click send. And there you can see that the message has been sent only between these two clients. But now I need to explain how to receive and display this message. And that is done with another special callback function that was added when we implemented the interface. And that function is called onPrivateMessage. This function is very similar to the onGetMessage function. It has three parameters. The first is the name of the sender. The second is the object. And the third is the channel name. And what you'll need to add inside this function is also very similar to what we've added to the onGetMessage function, but we're doing it without the for loop. So you'll need to create a temp string variable. You'll then need to format the value of your parameters so that it displays the sender first and then the message. And I've also added the tag private in parentheses out in front. Once you have that string formatted, you can save it into your temp string variable. And then finally, you need to add your temp string variable to the end of the text field of your UI text variable. And when I add that temp variable, I also include a new line character. That way, with every new message we send and receive, it'll appear on a new line in the chat box. And that's everything that you need to know for the concepts behind sending and receiving private messages using the Photon chat plugin. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you did, make sure that you give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And once again, if you'd like to gain access to the actual code of this tutorial series, then all you have to do is sign up to become a supporter on our website at www.infogamerhub.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.